there are real consequences to what happens in this debate. The world's eyes are on this debate. I think we're in a bit of a unique situation right here, which is that America's enemies are freaked out by Trump. They really, really are. Iran is freaked out by Trump. China is freaked out by Trump. Even Russia is freaked out by Trump because the reality is that for all the talk among some coteries of the Trump base that somehow Russia's good and Ukraine is bad, that's not actually Trump's position. Trump's position is that he wants to reach an off-ramp between Ukraine and Russia, but he's going to support Ukraine up to the point where that off-ramp can be reached. Vladimir Putin does not like the unpredictability of Donald Trump. He actually doesn't like it very much, which is why he didn't invade Ukraine while Donald Trump was president. He did it while Obama was president in 2014. He did it while Biden was president in 2022. He didn't do it while Trump was president. So what happens if Donald Trump starts to open up a big lead? If Donald Trump does well tonight, the lead that he has in the polling data is going to increase by a point or two. And suddenly it looks like a 5-point Trump lead or a 6-point Trump lead among likely voters. If that happens, if suddenly Donald Trump looks like he is on the verge of blowing out Joe Biden, that he's going to win the swing states, might pick off New Hampshire, might pick off Minnesota. Let's say you're an enemy of the United States. Then your timeline gets real short indeed. At that point, you're like, I got to go while the going is good. I got to move while Joe Biden is president. And this is, in fact, a problem for the United States. The reality is that America's allies, like Israel, Saudi Arabia in the Middle East, Taiwan, that those allies are waiting for Donald Trump to come back into office. If Donald Trump had been elected in 2020, there would have been a Saudi agreement with the Israelis in February of 2021, guaranteed. That is not speculation, that is reality. That would have happened. October 7th probably would have been forestalled in the first place if Donald Trump had been president of the United States. China would be on its much better behavior because they would be afraid that Donald Trump is just crazy enough to defend Taiwan. Russia probably would not have gone into Ukraine because they didn't know exactly what Donald Trump was going to do. There's something called the madman strategy when it comes to foreign policy, and that is be crazy enough that your opponent doesn't want to fight you because you never know what he's going to do. And Donald Trump has that one down to a T. But what happens if they are now looking at a certain timeline of Joe Biden being defeated and leaving office in January? It means you go now. It means you go before Trump enters office. It means that if you're Iran, you ratchet up the pressure by unleashing Hezbollah, for example. It means that if you're Iran, you start pushing really, really hard to accelerate your nuclear program before Donald Trump enters office and then does something to forestall your nuclear program. And by the way, this is exactly what Iran is doing. It's not me saying this. This is the New York Times saying this. Quote, throughout Iran's presidential campaign, in debates, rallies, and speeches, a singular presence has hovered, Donald J. Trump. To hear the 6 candidates tell it, the former president's victory in the 2024 White House race is a foregone conclusion. The urgent question facing Iranian voters as they go to the polls on Friday is who is best suited to deal with him. They hardly ever mention Biden. They never bring up the many polls suggesting the American election will be extremely close. Instead, Trump's name is invoked again and again. Wait and you will see what happens when Trump comes. One candidate, cleric Mustafa Pourmohammadi, said during a recent televised debate, we have to get ready for negotiations. Another candidate, Alireza Zakani, Tehran's mayor, accused his rivals of having Trump phobia and saying only he could manage him. Iranians have ample reason to be wary of another Trump presidency. It was Trump who unilaterally pulled the U.S. out of Iran's deal with world powers over its nuclear program. Trump also imposed tough economic sanctions targeting Iran. So, could Iran start to accelerate its timeline on terrorism and expansionism while Joe Biden is in office? That is certainly a possibility. I've been worried about this for a while. We'll get to more on that in a moment. First, I'm old enough to remember when COVID basically shut down all healthcare. Remember, the hospitals were overflowing and the urgent care had 8-hour wait times. They're like, if you're sick, you should just stay home. Well, the CDC recently issued a bird flu health alert after the first human infections were reported. Is this going to be the next time that everything shuts down? Listen, I don't know about you, and it may not be, but I'm not about to let the government run my life again. I'm going to take control of both mine and my family's health and order a medical emergency kit from the doctors at the wellness company today. It's not a first aid kit. It's a kit filled with essential prescriptions that can treat over 39 medical issues. The kit includes strong antibiotics for infections of all types, including pneumonia, strep throat, ear infections, and more. It's like having an urgent care in your home. You don't have to wait to see a doctor, no waiting at a pharmacy. It's all right there in the kit. Every home needs at least one medical emergency kit. Visit urgentcarekit.com/Ben. Enter promo code Ben for my 15% discount. It's easy. It's all online. It takes about 3 minutes. Your kit ships directly to your door. Visit urgentcarekit.com/Ben. Enter promo code Ben for your 15% discount. That's urgentcarekit.com/Ben. Enter promo code Ben. This is also true with regard to China. So I said at the very beginning of the year, my out-of-the-box prediction, if this election started to break open after the debates or after the conventions, the possibility of a Chinese blockade on Taiwan becomes incredibly severe. Why? because if they do it when Trump is president, he might do something about it. They believe they will be able to wheedle a better deal out of Joe Biden than they will be able to wheedle out of Donald Trump. Donald Trump reacts to threat with aggressiveness. Joe Biden reacts to threat with cowardice, and they know this. So if they have a choice between blockading Taiwan while Biden is president or blockading Taiwan while Trump is president, and they're already certain that Biden's going to lose, maybe they go. And maybe the reason they're forestalling action right now is because they believe that Biden might still win. And then they have a longer time horizon. They can do what they want with Taiwan. But if they see the end of this tunnel coming and they see the daylight, that is the Trump administration, coming back in, they might need to do what they do in darkness while Biden is still the president. So I think the possibility of significant global conflict radically escalates as the election approaches if Donald Trump is winning. That is not because of Donald Trump. That is because the world looks at Joe Biden and they lick their lips. America's enemies lick their lips when they see Joe Biden. By the way, it's not unprecedented for foreign actors to look at the prospect of future elections and then change their behavior based on the prospect of those future elections. So, for example, the Viet Cong in 1968, they started to stall negotiations with LBJ because they believed that Richard Nixon might come in and cut them a better deal. The same thing happened in 2012 with regard to Russia. You remember Barack Obama sitting with Dmitry Medvedev and telling him, I will have more flexibility after the election if you forestall action before the election. And you know what? Putin heard, and he did. Putin did not get super duper aggressive in 2012. He waited until 2013, 2014. He waited until Barack Obama basically handed him control of Syria, essentially handed him control of Crimea and the Donbass region in 2014. He got exactly what he wanted. This is what powers do. They're constantly gaming for moves by opposing powers. So, if Joe Biden loses tonight and loses badly, if he stumbles over his words, the possibility of a serious national catastrophe being visited upon the United States grow in the period between now and when he leaves office. Which, by the way, means that he loses really big. Because if any of those things happen while Joe Biden is president of the, let's say that China blockades Taiwan while Joe Biden is president, that dude loses by 15 points. Because the economic consequences of such a blockade, which could only be forestalled by a show of strength and will. Now, this is the dirty secret of Joe Biden's cowardice. Joe Biden's cowardice makes conflict so much more likely. Take the Middle East, for example. If Joe Biden had said to Israel, go fast, go hard, finish the job, get back as many hostages as you can, take out Hamas, do it fast, and then set up some sort of regime that allows for your security and the re-education of the Palestinian population away from their indoctrinated hatred of Jews. If he had said that, go fast, go hard, this thing would already be over. Hezbollah would not be threatening Israel's northern border. It turns out that stalwartness, aggressive action on the foreign stage when it comes to small activities, like historically the Hamas war is, that forestalls the possibility of future war. But Joe Biden is such a rube and a coward when it comes to foreign policy that he couldn't do that. And everybody notices. Everybody notices. So it's going to become a very dangerous world between now and when Joe Biden loses office, if he in fact loses office. And if the perception is that he's going to lose office. Are you tired of the lies and the twists of the mainstream media talking points? Yeah, me too. Join me in my newest series, Fact, where I dismantle and bring truth to this tiring mainstream agenda.